It's on. There we go. Just making sure that was on. So good afternoon. I'll be calling our open session for this board meeting on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 to order at 6:06. And I would like to invite Yahaira Ramirez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. If I could invite you to please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It looks like our front row here today has got a little scared. We scared them off a little bit, moved them back. Yeah. I mean, I think we had our early dinners, but it was pretty yummy stuff. We'll move on to superintendent's report.
Just a few shout outs. We had two people that were recognized in California as Teachers of the Year. One from Maple, Katie. Shelly, can you help me with Katie's last name? Bazea. And the second one from Nicholas Musio. And we'll bring them both here officially and recognize the good work that they've done and honor them. And I don't want to steal the thunder from speech and debate, but I believe somebody said Parks is going to the Nationals. Let's see. So pretty cool. I'll have a little shout out to Parks. There we go. But we'll do a more thorough job of all the people that won and recognize our coaches and our teachers. And so it was great to see so many teachers there supporting our kids. It was great to see principals there. Emily McDougall, a big shout out to you and all the work that you did. So anyways, lots to celebrate and recognize this time of year. And so April and May, we have lots of celebrations coming, and so and lots of flowers, and so we're looking forward to recognizing the many people that have done so many good things in our district.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move forward with information from our Board of Trustees. And this time I'll start from the right-hand side. Trustee Thakor.
All right, well.
Because I see that trophy there right in front of you. So.
Thank you very much. It's the time of the year now where the district is just getting increasingly busy. This past Saturday, thank you so much to our staff that were overseeing 3 different events that were happening. We also had the poker tournament from the Education Foundation. We had the 2nd annual interagency basketball tournament this past Saturday. I want to thank the district.
Rooney, who won that?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. I almost forgot. Well, last year, the incredible team that I'm honored to be on, from left to right there, Michael Klein, Jenna Bright, Joshua Holmes, handsome young guy. I'm not wearing my glasses. I don't know who that is on the very right there. Just kidding. We got first place this past Saturday. Yeah, there might have been some budgetary issues for why this trophy is so small. Actually, there's a larger one that we did last year that I think we need to put our name on. We got 2nd place last year. The team was called District Defenders. They did just that. And I did not play any minutes in the final game. But if you look at the heart, the passion, the skill, basketball is really just a metaphor at this point. This is all of our staff. So proud of them, so honored to be on their team, and we're going to win first place again next year. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Trustee Hatchett?
Yeah, well, I didn't play in any sports, but had a very busy month. There are a lot of things going on this month. I had so many great opportunities I got two different tours of Beechwood and Golden Hill, both amazing school communities that I really enjoyed learning about their unique qualities. I got to visit many schools during Read Across America, and that was really fun to read, and especially to sixth graders. I somehow got paired up with sixth graders at Maple and Commonwealth, and I love meeting these young people who are seriously changing our world. And, I chose specifically to read a book we call The Youngest Marcher about Audrey Faye, who was the 9-year-old, the youngest to march in the Children's March during the Civil Rights Movement. And then we talked about Claudette Colvin, who was 15 when she chose to sit and not give up her bus seat 9 months before Rosa Parks did. So we talked about the power that young people have, and it was really inspiring to hear not only them be encouraged by these stories, but what they're doing in their communities. I love our sixth graders. They're great kids. And then last Saturday, I also got to go to the speech and debate tournament. It was so fun. The energy, the excitement, the courage of our kids as they perform their speeches and debates is amazing. And we have lots of national competitors that will join in nationals this summer, which we're really excited for. I got to attend Richmond's Finding Nemo play, which was really impressive, but especially because the director and teacher, Sarah Cooper, worked to get over $11,000 in grants to make this happen. Because every school wants the stage production. They didn't have it this year because it's on rotation, and they worked hard to get that money to make it happen. So it was really cool to see the kids so proud of the work they did, and I could tell they had worked so hard to have an amazing show. I also got to see the Ladera Vista Junior High productions of Mean Girls Junior twice, and it was awesome. The students have so much talent, and I know teacher Mrs. Calvo, worked really, really hard, and it was a great show, and just great to see our kids perform and show off their talent. It was fetch, as they say. And I also got to see the amazing talent of Richmond in their leadership skills. The student council there, as I know some of us have heard and many of my board members were able to join, the student council led a process of a walkability audit, and they presented their findings. So what was so cool to see was that these leaders of the community are already making a difference. They invited city council members, community leaders from our county, our city council planning and design team, and they talked about safety for students and the whole community. And they're not just, our potential future leaders, but they're actually making a difference today. And that was really powerful to see them. And I've also had a chance to meet with our teachers. We were invited to the FETA meeting, and it was great to have a frank conversation with our teachers to learn how we can continue to improve together. And same kind of attitude as attending the PAL meeting, our partnership between administration and labor. It was a great day. We had a lot of fun, but I love that we're building relationships, and that allows us to trust one another and to work together, because we know that our intentions from the board down to every single staff person is really for outcomes for our kids, and I appreciated that day to work together to build that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Looks like we're all keeping busy. Trustee Sugarman.
1 second.
Oh, let's see if she's able to, or maybe, yeah, no, go ahead. You're good. Your mic, Trustee Sugarman, your mic, please.
Whoops, we've got all sorts of wonderful things, and we have a lot of programs that are coming to fruition, as my colleague here has said. And can we get it up there? It's coming, okay. I want to mention the PAL retreat. Thank you, Dr. Pletka. You expanded it this year, and it was
Dr. Hammett.
Dr. Hammett and
her team. They are the ones that.
It was.
Yes.
It was so wonderful, lots of frank conversations, and we learned so much about approaching in a sensible, effective way one another to move forward on all sorts of issues. And whether it's a parent, a colleague, a superior, how to approach, and a little bit of analysis of who we are actually and how we do things. So very, very fun. I too enjoyed all the plays, and I want to say something. We had different types of plays, but under the leadership of Phil. Phil you are really stimulating wonderful things in our district in the arts, and I appreciate that. So I want to underscore the children at LV, the School of the Performing Arts. They have taken drama and music and dance to such a higher level. Now that Ruthie's daughter was in it is only a little piece of why it's gone up, I'm sure. But Andrea and Aaron just knocked it out of the park. And by the way, the play was Mean Girls. And let me tell you, girls can be mean. And it was delightful. At the Aladdin play at Valencia Park is part of our stage production, and it was fun to see that our stage students each year get better. I had seen their play the year before, and these are volunteer programs for students. Their skills were so much higher this year that it only improves. And I'm very proud of the district for being able to do that. And yes, Richmond, really, Sarah Cooper must never sleep. I'm really serious. She gets more grants for more things than anybody in the world. And it was so impressive because when she was unable to get her students in a district play, nothing stopped Sarah Cooper. So really kudos to her. And Commonwealth did a play this year. And they were all at the same time. And I'm ashamed I didn't get to Commonwealth. I'm so sorry. Next year, they're number one on my list.
They're going to be at Segerstrom, though. So,
oh, yeah.
You know, they get another chance.
Read Across America. Oh my God, it is so fun going in classrooms and talking with our students. But this year I had a super experience with this because I was in a sixth grade and in one place, and that sixth grade class had a lot of guys in it. Okay, anyway, I read them Edgar Allan Poe. And when I was reading to them, I said, you know, oh, I'm going to stop for a minute. Let's show this. You got it. I saw it up there. Woo. The sound is unimportant, but what happened to it? There it is. You want to do it? This is a grant. Rich, ready? Woo-hoo! Miss Frankie! I know what you're thinking. Is that in her job description, and do we have liability? You know? And she was pushed down that hill by a student. This is a special ed class that was there at this particular moment. Oh, yes, worth twice. Richmond School. And what I want to tell you are the comments I heard the students making. Number one, snow is cold. Well, how nice for them to realize in person, snow is cold. Second of all, this stuff is slushy. Yes, it is. So it's really something different to read something in a book and to see it live. By the way, there were 3 sled routes at Richmond, and they made a snowman, and she keeps right on going. And I just wanted to share the joy in her face because I'm not supposed to take kids' pictures. And it's really wonderful. And I want to tell you that that school, that grant, and Sarah got grant money both from the Fullerton Education Foundation, and I'm really proud that that money goes to things that make a difference in many lives. The snow was from kindergarten through 5th grade and all special ed, and that's really wonderful for them to feel cold and slushy. Of course, when I walked up the hill, they thought, don't let her fall. She's in heels. Anyway, maybe it was not addressing you. They wouldn't let me. Well, I was also not dressed quite appropriate. That short skirt doesn't do it. Anyway, Read Across America. So I was reading Edgar Allan Poe, and when I start the story, I say to the students, there will be words in the story, okay, Telltale Heart, that you do not know. Don't focus on those words. Just listen to the sentence, listen to the story, and you will know exactly what you thought you didn't know. Well, I didn't notice, but right behind me was a chart about inference. And apparently, it was a topic that they had then. today I was over at Pack Drive, and there were all these charts on inference. I happened to speak with Ruthie at FETA, and they had some things to talk to us about inference. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because sometimes parents say to me, if my child goes to school A, they don't maybe learn what's being taught at school B. And this was a wonderful example that whether you're doing math at school A or math at school B, it's the same topics at the same weeks of the school year, and it may be taught differently by different teachers. But this is really for parents to take in their heart if they're listening on Zoom. We really do teach the same subject matter at all of our schools for all of our students. There is no selective teaching, and for that I'm proud of all of our teachers and all of our leadership, because we want to make sure that our students really do get the curriculum. So that's a really special thanks and a great appreciation for the leadership in our district for making sure that this happens across the board. So thank you. And last but not least, enjoy your week.
You're going to say the golf tournament. What's coming up in April?
Oh, you mean on Monday, April 8th, the golf tournament? Well, most of the people in this room, I think, are signed up for it because they've been, I've seen as I drive past these practice ranges in any city, a flyover, they're all practicing. They're all practicing. They can hardly wait. And Scott's even bringing his wife over. She's helping me. Oh, she's going to play too? And this year I've got my whole family playing, 2 grandchildren.
There you go.
Woohoo!
And,
Yes,
and
don't tell their schools.
Is there a trophy for Rooney?
There's not only a trophy for winning, there's bragging rights, and that's what Rob's all about. That's what he's looking forward to. And there are some good prizes and things. And yes, this year we will again have Putt for Booze, but there'll be a little twist in it this year, and you'll want to come and see because you may win different things. And Chad, you cannot win all the booze with one ball.
Already signed up.
And there's a ball drop, a helicopter ball drop. If you've never been to one, that's really fun. You buy a ball, and if it goes into the hole, you get money. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hilda, for sharing that.
I knew you'd feed me it.
I'm just going to piggyback on what my other trustees have said. Our plays this year have been phenomenal. I'm going to give another shout out to Commonwealth because as they are looking for money, Disney has allowed them to be able to do their play, and they will be at the Segerstrom. So having our students be able to perform in a big professional stage, I think how thrilling for them, right? So I think that's going to be a great thing for them to coming up. Read Across America are going in on Day of the Reader. We've had such a great time. I, on the other hand, have been with the littles. So I've had the kindergarteners and the little TK people. So we've had a great time. So I haven't had those same kinds of conversations, Ruthie. It was more, what's my favorite color? So, okay. The PAL retreat, thank you guys all for putting the time and effort into that. I truly believe that our PAL process is one of the best things that we do in our district, bringing all of our staff together to talk and to collaborate. This year, having the speaker focus in on people and how they deal with things, their personalities, how they're, so that everyone in the room understood each other and how you deal with issues, right? So whether I'm a driver, I'm expressive, or my passive aggressive, or how I am. So I think it's a really great thing for people just to stand back and have that space. And to feel safe enough to be able to talk about that and be able to figure out where they're all coming from, because we all are different. I think that we have common ground, and to find that common ground and to get there, but to understand why someone does what they do and where they're coming from, I think is a great way to remind us how to work well with others. So Richmond. The voices of our students in student council at Richmond School are just phenomenal, and I think that's true across the board. And what you're seeing more and more of students being able to step up and really find that they can make a difference, right? They're volunteering more, they're stepping up, they're advocating more, and to have students have a voice and to watch them feel comfortable and confident in presenting something to a group of adults in a room, and then to really say, okay, once I've said this, now what's going to happen, and to have people really legitimize what they're saying and to make change or to really listen, I think is phenomenal. And so I think our Richmond Student Council for doing that with their safety plan. And it just reminds me that as our students are progressing and we look at speech and debate, that program really has prepared lots and lots of our students to be able to step up and do things outside of their comfort level, right? I could have never done that. I have a hard enough time doing this now. To have that as a student, and I was able to go to Sacramento. Seems like forever ago, but it was probably just a couple weeks back, and having a student members go on a Sacramento trip I went with the 4th District PTA, having student members go and advocating and using their voice, and really talking about what's important to them and watching their progression as well. We had one of our advocates is a senior at Sunny Hills, but she was on the speech and debate team. She was at Parks. She went through all that, and now she's a senior and she's writing bills. She's writing bills. And that's what we need to remember, is that our students today are going to be our advocates for tomorrow, and that we just stand back and watch them go, right? And to provide them with the resources and that voice and choice, I think is amazing. So thank you for all that we do at this school district, because I know we make a huge difference in that, in preparing our students and being able to give them those skills to be able to do that. So that's my report.
Awesome. No, thank you. Thank you, trustees. I'll keep mine brief. I did have the honor and the privilege to attend the conference up in Monterey this past weekend, where we did recognize Ladera Vista for Schools to Watch, so they got redesignated that recognition. But and then also to Musio from Nicholas, which he actually won the Region 11 Teacher of the Year for the state of California. So yeah, huge. And trust me as I say this, but Katie would have won at Maple if it wasn't that Maple had won already 2 years past. So it would have been like a three-peat for Maple. Yes, and I told Katie after, I was like, trust me, I think you would have won. I think they just could not have Maple win again this year. So she did an amazing job, both of their speeches. If we do get an opportunity, maybe we can share maybe some tidbits of that on our social media and share that a little bit more. And again, also the POW retreat was amazing to see. So thank you to everybody that put their time and effort and energy into that retreat, to making that happen. Yeah, so with that, we'll move forward with information from our associations. DLAC, do we have DLAC? Or Anna?
President Talavera, I'll be reading on behalf of DLAC.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Talavera, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Pleka, the executive cabinet, and all families present and listening. On behalf of the DLAC committee, we would like to thank the board members and the educational services team for their continued support to the English learner students, their parents, and the community. We are pleased that the Fullerton School District will provide more opportunities for our children to learn and practice English through the EL Jumpstart Summer English Learning Program. This program will provide academic interventions in the standard areas of academic English skills and mathematics vocabulary. Many schools are having book fairs this week to continue cultivating the love of reading. For instance, Raymond's Book Fair is a Mija Book Fair, which focuses on and celebrates multicultural and diverse children's books. We encourage you all to attend and support your school's book fair. We are very thankful to the Ed Services team for all their support and guidance in being a voice for our community. Thank you to all teachers, staff, and administrators for their hard work and sacrifice for our students. We truly appreciate all you do. We invite you to our last DLAC meeting for this academic year, which will be on Friday, April 12th at 9 a.m. at Woodcrest Elementary. We wish all the families of the Fullerton community a happy and safe spring break. Sincerely, Vanessa Estrella, DLAC President.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have a report from PTA?
We do not have a report from PTA tonight.
Report from CSCA.
Good evening, Dr. Pletka, President Talavera, members of the board and cabinet. Marlene Acosta speaking on behalf of CSEA. Congratulations to the PAL committee on a wonderful event. I hear I missed out on an excellent speaker and hope to participate next year. This week, we're pleased to have 9 classified employees attending the CSEA Paraeducator Conference being held locally here in Ontario. We're also in the process of selecting delegates to attend the CSEA annual convention in San Jose this summer. Employee of the Year nomination forms have been sent out. We encourage you to nominate a classified employee who's a shining star at your site or department. The agenda tonight sadly reflects layoffs, both classified and certificated. This is not just limited to our district, but many districts throughout the state. I spoke to a friend at a local school district who's retiring after 41 years as a paraeducator. She chose to retire along with over 100 classified staff members prior to layoffs in her district. I know what it feels like to receive a pink slip, having been through that twice before in my 19-year career here at FSD. For all those affected, I understand the sadness and uncertainty that you now are dealing with. I hope that if you're unable to return to FSD, that the skills you've learned here open the doors to a new opportunity to share your talents. To end on a positive note, we'd like to invite the board to our end of the year member recognition event, which will be held Friday, May 24th at Ladera Vista Junior High School. More information will follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Report from FETA.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Sorry, like it's been a long week, but good evening, President Talavera, board members, Dr. Pletka, cabinet, FETA members, and guests. Full disclosure, I didn't help much with the planning for the retreat. I left that to Dr. Hammett, Nina, and some of my friends, and but I wish I had had the 4 techniques for a difficult conversation with my son a week before. So I did pass it on today to somebody who was needing some help with that, so that was good. Currently, our members are voting on the tentative agreement for this year. Results will be in by tomorrow afternoon. The bargaining process is always a challenging time for all of those involved in it and for all of those who wait for the end results. In the end, we all may not get what we want. However, we do appreciate the privilege of going through this each year. Thank you to our bargaining team, Pamela Zanell, who's the chair. I gave her a night off tonight. That's why she's not here. Jessel Contreras, Kristen Montoya, Shelley Behrens, Stephanie Hitz, and Jesus Arube, and Jim Rogers. FETA is grateful for the time you spent to research, update, reflect, listen, and then validate our members' needs. We want to thank board members Sugarman and Hanchett for attending our March Rep Council meeting. I'm really sorry I had to miss it to go to another school event at our school. However, I know that our reps appreciated your listening ears and answers to our burning questions. FETA has been busy these last few months with supporting members, sites, students, and our community. $6,000 worth of scholarships were given out to our members and their children to continue their college education. Shout out to Susan Wong Weasel and Melissa Rivera for their work on this committee. FETA wrote a $500 community grant that was used to support Crittenton services with gift cards that will be used for students and individuals who are currently receiving support from this amazing place. Thank you, Board Member Berryman, for helping us to make this work. And just this past week, in honor of Read Across America, all school sites, including distance learning, received a $100 Barnes & Noble gift card to purchase books for their libraries. We want to wish everyone a relaxing and rejuvenating spring break. There are only about 10 weeks left of the school year. We got this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. FSMA.
Check. Hello, President Talavera, board members, Dr. Bob Pleka, and cabinet members. I'm Mike McAdam, Director of Purchasing, Contracts, Warehouse, and Reprographics, and also FSMA Board President. The PAL conference was wonderful, seeing both classified and certificated staff working together with so much positivity and support continue to work together as one. Speech and debate at Ladera Vista showcased our amazing students in actions with all the hard work they put into this event, as well as being a competitive force nationally. Awesome job, staff there. The March Madness basketball tournament was huge with a major comeback from behind victory. Jenna, Aruni, Josh, and Mike were crowned champions of the tournament, taking home the first place trophy to FSD. And we are looking forward to STEM Nation, FSD Fest, and hockey tournament coming soon, as well as our day-to-day operations, making FSD the best for our students, staff, and community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
If I can,
FSD Fest? Mr. McAdam, when is FSD Fest?
Jeremy?
In the middle of May. It is May
18th.
17.
And what is it?
Film Fest the night before, Friday is Film Fest and our spotlight speakers, and then Saturday is the larger event with esports and everything else, like 5 other events that day. So,
just one quick shout out to Mike. Mike McAdam started a network of local businesses, and he started with nobody. And here it is after a couple years, and just at the last event, we had about 70. It was packed, and I think he's close to about 80 or 90 members that are part of it, and reaching out to our local businesses. And Mike has really facilitated that whole process. So thanks, Mike, for doing that.
All right. We're going to move forward to public comments. So the Fullerton School District Board meeting adheres to decorum rules outlined in board bylaws 9323. Please submit a public comment request slip, which you can find at the entrance. Individuals are given 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda and non-agenda items. Public input on each of the items is capped to 20 minutes. The total public comment time to be limited to 30 minutes. Comments on the agenda item are heard when the item is discussed, while comments on non-agenda items are heard during public comment section of the agenda. No action or discussions will be allowed on non-agenda items unless permitted by law, which will be referred to the superintendent for handling. Yeah. So with that, we have 3. Tiffany. First one.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Tiffany Alva, and I'm the Director of Partnership and Government Affairs for First 5 Orange County. First 5 Orange County is dedicated to improving the well-being of young children and families, and we were established 25 years ago by voters approved a portion of tobacco taxes. It was dedicated to support programs and services for early childhood development. First 5 Orange County is a public agency that is responsible for local funding and support for children and families prenatal to 5. I'm here tonight to thank you as you vote to accept funding from First 5 Orange County, and we are incredibly grateful for your partnership and continued partnership in the future. As we look at the collaboration between our school districts and First Five with a kindergarten population, we have yielded significant impacts in early learning. I'd like to take a moment to share a few highlights of our Kindergarten Readiness Initiative. The first is around community engagement. The school district partnership has helped us connect with communities. Through these relationships, we have had the ability to reach over 23,000 families annually with our early learning and health-related programs and resources. The second is to draw down additional funding. First Five has provided technical assistance that has supported school districts in the county to draw down over $50 million for early learning programs, and you are one of the school districts that help and support to do that. The third is probably the most significant from a First Five Orange County perspective, and that is the data collection for the Early Development Index. We are the only county in the nation that has 100% of our incoming kindergarten data. It tells us how our children are doing as they enter into the kindergarten classroom. We are really happy that our school districts use this tool to allocate resources, formulate strategic planning with our community partners, as well as enhance curriculum and early learning activities. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your partnership and continued partnership. We truly could not do this work without you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Kelly?
Hello. I was going to start by saying we got asked to be here by somebody that is near and dear to my heart, so here I am in my little t-shirt, but thank you, President Talavera, the board, the cabinet, everybody in the audience, everybody at home. I'm just here to remind everybody that the art auction is back. And I've been told not to say back because that makes it look like we went away, but actually just the event went away. I'm hearing that, different person sitting there, that some people never got the invitation for the artist. If you have not gotten an invitation, I have them here with me. We are all over the internet. There's many people in this room that I see your name on our guest list. We thank you, but we just wanted to give another shout out to everything. Very, very Fullerton heavy this year. Everything's been donated by people in Fullerton. We have over 100 artists already, Twisted Vine and Bootlegger and Raymond Avenue and all of the normal heavies will be there. But again, I just came to remind everybody, and NCL will be there. I've seen all the faces. I didn't look at my notes at all, but thank you. And I have invitations.
Yes.
If anybody has a great place to put signs, I'm going to leave a few signs. I can throw that in, right?
I'm sure we can find.
If you want, you can put it right there below my picture. There we go.
All right, I will.
Perfect.
And we're going paperless, as you can tell. So everything, if you didn't get an email, I'm easy to find.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We have our.
When was it?
April.
April, did I not say that?
Yeah.
April 13th. Fullerton Community Center, it's not at the plaza this year, for those that just, and we are, Phil has offered to collect art if anybody's donating, but we do have a different drop-off also.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your spring break, everybody.
April 13th.
April 13th.
Saturday. Perfect. Can always add more. Pick and choose. Well diverse. All right. Our next speaker, MJ.
Hi, everybody. I'm MJ Noor. I'm the founder of the Parents Voice USA. Basically, the Parents Voice is a support vehicle for parents, and we keep parents abreast of challenges that impact their students. We update, we inform, we educate parents, and we invite experts to address issues impacting elementary, junior high, high school, and even college. The reason I'm here today, and I think it's long overdue because we had an event in October, and I want to thank Dr. Plitka. The event was about AI, artificial intelligence, and how it impacts our students. Parents are confused, of course, about all these new things that are coming down the pike. Dr. Plitka was one of the experts on the panel along with Dr. Miramontes, 2 professors from UCI that specialize in artificial intelligence, as well as the dean of at the junior college, Fullerton JC. The event was held at the junior college. I think what we experienced when Dr. Pletka spoke was that your board, your community, your organization here is dynamic. It began to bring into focus to a lot of the parents what you're doing and how you're accomplishing these new artificial intelligence developments. And I come here today to thank you, especially Dr. Pletka and this outstanding board. Hilda Sugarman was also at our event, and we very much appreciate your involvement. I think also it's important to say that the Parents' Voice is an organization that was founded in Fullerton in 2009, and we are now national. The organization has no political or any other divided beliefs except to let parents know what's going on in the schools. We, as I said, we are here to educate parents. I know you talk about students and children all the time, but parents are a big factor. Parents are a huge, huge factor. And we respect and honor parents. And I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Again, I would like to see, we're going to have another event. Our events are always in October. And we'll let you know what topic we'll be discussing. And I want to thank you for the outstanding job that this district does. I've been involved with it for many years. Both my children worked here, not worked, but studied here. And one's got a PhD, the other one has got a master's from Cornell. And it all starts right here in Fullerton. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, MJ. With that, we're going to move forward to approve our, that's a December, not December, our February 20th board minutes. Do I have a motion?
To approve those minutes.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So passes 5-0. Anybody opposed? No. Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, tonight's agenda, as is? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Oh, no one. I'm going to turn that off. Perfect. So with that, we're going to move over to our consent agenda. Do I have anybody that wants to approve the consent items on that agenda?
I move
or pull
to.
anything?
I have some comment, a comment.
Yeah, let's approve it and then we can comment on it after.
Or do you want me just to move?
Yeah, let's make a motion to
I'll make
approve
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Perfect. And second?
I second.
Second. Everybody in favor?
No, we have to discuss first.
Oh, discuss first. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want to point out the generous gifts that our district has received, over $20,000 this month, and that's fabulous. And look at all the different schools that have received funding this month. It's just wonderful to see that parents and foundations and even C's Candy know that we appreciate their support of our schools and that they're making a difference. Parks apparently really makes an appeal to parents to give what they can to support their music programs, and it really makes a difference in what they can do for their productions. So thank you to all of our generous donors. Ruthie?
Awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out today in our consent items, we have a lot of notice of final completion for our fencing that was installed over the last really 2 years around all of our school locations, all of our campuses. And I know that many of our staff did everything they could to push that along through some of the red tape and all the things. And so it's nice to know that we have now completed all fencing around all of our campuses. That was not without some controversy, but a real desire from our community to help have an extra effort to keep our kids and our staff safe. And so all FSD schools are now gated with a single point of entry once school starts. And I think that that is an important step that we've made to create the most safety we can on campus.
I did have one more comment to make about our agenda. On our agenda, item on the consent agenda, letter H is to approve classified tuition reimbursement. And that's really important because we have classified workers who go to college to improve all sorts of things. And this month we have 4 people that have received approximately $500 each in tuition reimbursement. And we're really proud of them for using their extra time to enhance their abilities. So good job, classified employees.
Yeah, advanced degrees that they're pursuing.
I wanted to just bring to light that we are approving the certificated personnel report, and I wanted to make it unsaid. Every year, this is hard for us to do. If you'll notice, there are positions on there that, we go through the March 15th pink slips. And it's not something that's easy for us, and it's not something that goes without question. This year, to me, it was just hit home a little bit more, understanding that the budget is not as it has been, and that the honeymoon kind of is over from all the COVID funding and everything that we've had over the past couple of years. So this year is a lot harder to approve something like this, but just know how much we appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody's efforts, and all of our staff are special, and all of our staff that affect our children every single day are very, very important, and just to know that this is not something that's easy.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Pat.
thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else? No? So with that, we'll move to vote on the consent agenda. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed? 5-0. Perfect. So now we'll move over to our discussion items. And the first one that we have is we'll discuss the district bulletin services.
So just a little bit of background. What we offer is we facilitate an electronic bulletin board. Just a little bit of context. Many, many years ago, we used to do it all in-house, and we were spending anywhere from 40 to 80 hours a week working with, facilitating a whole variety of organizations. And one of the things that we're very proud of, we are very proud of the fact that we have a supportive community, and we're also proud that we can try to find ways to be a bit of a matchmaker with whether it's nonprofits, whether it is we have great sports leagues here, soccer, baseball, and our parents want to put their kids in sports. They want to put them in art lessons. They want to put them in all these things. And so at that time, we were actually doing all of that work. It is a large undertaking, and at that point, we heard about a service that basically facilitates that. So somebody from the community, they can go and register online, and when they register, then they put their flyer up, and then we let parents know about this service, and then we have families. You can opt out, but families can then go to, it's called Peach Jar. They go to Peach Jar, and at that point, they can see all kinds of flyers. If they choose not to visit it, they can do that. And if they choose to opt out, they can also do that as well. So the question has kind of come up is then what are some of the laws, and I think Bev Berryman brought this up, what are some of the laws around bulletin board services? Can we restrict? Who can we include? Who can we exclude? Is there criteria that you can put? And so with that, we asked our attorney, since I'm not a lawyer, to come here and answer any questions that you have about bulletin board. And just one caveat, it doesn't matter if we distribute the flyers as a bulletin board service or whether Peach Jar does it or whether someone else does it. These laws are not context specific to a particular service, but it is based on the offering that we offer to our community. And I'm sure Natasha will do a way better job of explaining the legal implications of it.
Thank you so much for being here, Natasha.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Natasha Sani, partner with Garcia Hernandez Sani, President Talavera, board, Dr. Pletka, thank you so much for inviting me to answer some questions that were posed regarding the district's bulletin board service that's provided through Peach Jar. And thank you because you've given me an opportunity to brief you on one of my favorite law school topics. So as you all are well aware, the school district follows the state laws, we follow the federal laws, and so the law regarding that I think touches most closely to the distribution of bulletin information, it falls under the First Amendment, which is codified obviously in the U.S. Constitution and the state Constitution as well. And what it provides is that where there is a public forum, there must be the ability to bring various viewpoints forward. The district's creation of a bulletin board service doesn't create a public forum that has no limits or doesn't have any. What it creates is what's called a limited public forum. A limited public forum is one in which the district is able to provide this service, and your service, the intention behind your service is codified in your board policy, which says to connect and promote community with school district families. And so the way you do that is by providing this Peach Jar service. And what your board policy provides is that community members can enroll in the service, put flyers out onto the platform, and then they're reviewed by the district for a few specific things. They must contain a statement that they are not a Fullerton School District sponsored event, nor was the flyer prepared as a Fullerton School District expense. And that's obviously a really critical piece because these flyers are not endorsed by the district. You're not taking a role in. There's no stamp of Fullerton approval that goes with those flyers. It's truly just a bulletin board service. And one of, I think the cornerstones of the law is that as you are looking at the events, you do have to consider the provisions that are in your board policy that require that the events not take away from your educational mission as a district, right? And so your focus is constantly your educational mission. And so you can't promote events that are counter to that mission. What it also requires, though, is that when you are, vetting or approving the flyers that go on, that you're not having any viewpoint discrimination within that practice. And so it requires that the district have a rule that allows you to have some criteria, but it has to be viewpoint neutral. With that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions from the trustees.
Fellow trustees, any questions?
My first question is that when you talk about these three areas that are non-disclosure, all the things that the flyers need to say, who does our bulletin board service actually review them, or is this something that once a participant uploads to the service, we just trust?
No, I believe there is a practice within the district. So your guidelines are part of the Peach Jar process, right? So organizations that are choosing to use Peach Jar get to see all of the district's guidelines as they're doing it. So they have knowledge, like don't have events that discriminate, right? Don't have events that, are promoting the use of an illegal anything. And then what happens is in the district office, there's a process that requires that the flyers are posted, I believe, 30 days in advance of any event, and then they are approved for posting.
And so what we look at is just the flyer. So we're not looking at the organization. All we're looking at is the flyer itself consistent with that mission. And in this case, we also review it for a few extra things. We do check the links. So if someone puts a link, we do check to see if it's an active link, it's not broken. And we do sometimes confirm very specific information, like who is the contact. Sometimes people just forget some basic elements. And so all we're doing is looking at the flyer itself, nothing more.
Does that happen at the school sites as well? Because I know some things come through the district and some things go through principals or school sites.
Yeah, so typically if it's a flyer that's going out to the whole district or several sites, then we would review it. The local school has some leeway on what they can send out specifically, and so the one that's most typical would be PTA. So a school site could just send out foundations. Good example. So those are the sorts of things that the sites send out. We also have OC United as an example. They do some of our after-school programs, and so it's possible that if a specific site has that.
But I guess my question would be then: is it a time-consuming burden for principals or office staff to do that review, or is it pretty quick for each flyer?
It takes a bit of time, so that's why most things go through Anna. Usually the sites do, again, PTA, foundation, it's pretty narrow with the sorts of things that they're looking at. They don't look at organizations beyond those that they, basically that they partner with. So think, I can do a PTA, the dance, the family dance, some of those sorts of things they send out. But in most cases, it's because they're actively partnering with that particular event. The one that I know of is OC United, but again, they're in our schools actually doing services. If it's beyond something like that, then it goes to Anna. I mean, I guess if the question is it possible for a principal to send something, on their own on a case-by-case basis, yes, they have the freedom to do that. But generally, they send them to Anna, and Anna approves it. It takes time. Just to give you an idea, it takes Anna, and this doesn't even count what Robo also does, a couple hours a week. And so, again, at one point, each site was kind of doing it independently. And it was taking 60, 70, 80 hours, not by a particular site, but 2, 3, 4 hours a site times 20, and it adds up pretty quickly. And it's not just the flyer distribution, it's the communication. So, I send somebody, they send me, hey, what are the guidelines? And then we send back, these are the guidelines. And then they may say, okay, what do I need to do? What's the format I need to send it in? So that communication is a time-consuming piece. There's a mechanical piece of actually that we no longer have to do, but it used to be, and in fact, Darlene and I think we're talking about the flyer. They used to literally have these envelopes, and they were stuffing the flyers in, and they would be 30 or 40 flyers. It was painful.
Dr. Bob, can I jump in for one moment? For any outside organization, the actual disclaimer is automatically attached to it, just so they don't have to do it word for word. We have it programmed into Peach Jar. So two things happened a couple of years ago. That there was an issue, and it was like, hey, can we just do this automatically? And they said, yeah, no problem. So it's actually tagged. There's wording that automatically, if it's not from us, if it's from an outside, that automatically gets added. The second thing is we changed the names, just so you know. You probably see them now where it says from the Fistler community, not from Fistler School. We changed that 2 years ago as well, just to really separate and say, these are community flyers that are coming out. This isn't from Fistler School itself. So just so you know, if you see our emails, that's what it says on there, and there's a reason for that. We were actually asked Peach Jar, and they had to tweak some of their programming for that because we were the first district to ever say, hey, we wanted to say this instead of this because we don't want any misrepresentation. So, those are automatically done.
This is always helpful. Thank you so much for being here tonight. In kindergarten, they used to pin the notes that they wanted our parents to see on the back of our shirt, and then I would just walk home, and my mom would be like, oh, what does the 1984 version of Peach Jar, have for me today? Maybe just as a thought exercise, though, can you give us an example of something that would be problematic, or maybe that you've heard of in another district, and how we might be better prepared for something like that? Maybe a group that advertises an event through Peach Jar. It sounds like it's coming from our community. People that don't know about it go to this event that was advertised as one thing. They get there, it's something really unconscionable or distasteful. Doesn't fit with our community. What could we expect as blowback? What should we be aware of, and how might we better respond in the event that something does get through that's not wholesome and doesn't represent our community and our district?
Thank you for the question. The example that comes to mind is actually one of proprietary interest, where someone was using a district site to be able to promote something for commercial interest. And so they made it sound like it's just informational, come and learn, but when you get there, there's this like very hard press for sale. And so, it took the district one instance to be like, thanks, you don't sell stuff through our event page. We're not here to promote your commercial interests. So something like that could happen. I mean, the criteria are pretty clear. It's about your obscene, libelous, slanderous. So if there was ever anything that was just intended to engage in slander, that would be. The other example that comes to mind that has occurred is around the promotion of candidates or political positions for a proposition, against a proposition, those kinds of events. So those are more complex, deserve their own kind of analysis, because you have the Civic Center Act and we have the obligations of the Civic Center Act specifically, but the district's guidelines do prevent the promotion of any ballot measure, political interest, or candidate or party.
But to be clear, we do have flyers right now that are for-profit services. Like, you can pay for karate. Those are produced. I mean, there are opportunities for folks to buy things.
Yeah, I think it's the trick. It's the trickery, right?
Yeah,
that's the issue.
The bait and switch that.
Because you have leagues, you have softball, baseball. Like, those cost money. Some of them, right? They're generally not free. So it's not that you can't have something that costs a service. You can, but what you're not supposed to be using the district services for is for like a bait and switch, where you tell people you're providing something and then you're trying to have them join a vacation club of some
the timeshares.
But I think you said at the beginning of your comments that we're kind of farming out the idea of a public school system being a public forum. And so First Amendment, freedom of ideas, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, we really in our minds and our policy should be tolerating multiple viewpoints and being more accepting of these generally, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Just as you are in your public comment section of your board meeting. That's another area where you've created a limited public forum for that very point.
I thought your letter was really helpful to understand it. We can judge the message, but not the messenger. We can judge the flyer and whether it fits our criteria, but not the organizations behind it and their ideology. that helps me clarify. But I did have one question about specifically one of our criteria in our policies. It says that we can reject material if it disrupts the educational process. And again, a very hypothetical sort of expanding that to further down the road. If, for instance, an organization wanted to promote something like a protest, walk out of school and protest of an issue, or a private school, come to learn about our private school, that disrupts our public education process, would that be allowed?
It's a great question. I mean, competition, I guess, but I don't know that it would be disruptive to your learning process, right? Like the idea that private schools exist and that they would love to enroll your students, like definitely that's competition. But I don't know that it would rise to the level of disruption. So disruption would include things like, let's burn down the school, right? Like that is
violence and disruption.
Both violence and disruption. Or let's all sit out.
Sit-outs, yeah.
And let's not go to school. Now, students have the ability to organize. So I do want to make some distinctions between the bulletin board service, which is that limited public forum, and students' ability and their First Amendment rights for themselves, which is distinct, right? And I don't think you're asking me about student-led, student-organized, like that's different. But this is your community service that will always come back to the mission as described in both, the district mission, of course, but also the mission as it's described in the board policy that addresses this limited public forum.
Okay. So that leads me to a question. If you have an organization that has a mission that's similar but maybe not the same as ours, if you send out a flyer, but it's not disruptive, it's not talking about let's burn down the school, but yet the organization might have something in their mission that is different than what, say, a private school, promoting private schools, promoting things that are not always in the best interest of a public school system. If the flyer is not stating it, but the mission of an organization is different, where does that fall?
Great. This private school question is a great one. I don't know. I might need to do some further research on that issue. So let's say there was a private school and it held a camp. This just happened in my community. So the private school in our neighborhood held the summer camp, like the summer camp fair, where you could go and, visit the booths of all the all the organizations that hold summer camps. I didn't see their flyer through our district's peach jar, but
they're offering a service.
Yeah, that service would be completely appropriate for my school district where my child attends to be able to advertise that. Now, if that private school was now saying like, come learn about us, that question, I haven't researched it, so I don't want to make a mistake.
Come and poach all of our students.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Well, the thought exercise, though, would be, let's say we don't like that flyer, so then we say it's not coming in our peach jar. They hire an attorney to sue our district that we're violating their free speech.
Right.
Natasha comes and files to dismiss their entire case, and then what happens? We don't know.
Right.
But I think the point of we can judge whether the flyer is appropriate. We can't necessarily judge whether the organization is appropriate or aligned with our mission and values, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Do you feel a lot more pressure now?
No.
Good.
No.
This might be a process question for us, is that we talked at the beginning opting out.
Yeah.
So do our parents at the beginning of the year have an option to opt out of Peach Jar, saying that I don't want anything from Peach Jar?
Yes.
Oh.
What about opting in, though? Because there's, like, you get the email and you go to the bottom and you unsubscribe, but when they do, like, air the, I put my emergency contact and my doctor for all of that with my kids. Could they be asked specifically, we have this bulletin board service, we send your email, would you like it or not? Could they opt in?
I could ask. Here's the issue. The issue is parents constantly change email addresses. Not everybody, but probably 100 or 200 every couple of weeks that change. So you're looking at the opt-in based on current email addresses only. So they are a private company. I could ask them, hey, if I send you a bunch of email addresses that don't want the flyers, could you rectify those databases? It's possible, but then it's easier for them just to click no. I mean, the first time they get one, if they just say, I want to unsubscribe, then it's their communication with a private company. We don't really control it because it's not ours. It's a service that's being used where we get the free part, and then the organizations, they pay. We don't pay anything, so it's a free service. But I'd be happy to ask them, hey.
But how specifically do they get our parent emails?
We do it through Aries, through Power School. We have the set of Guardian 1, Guardian 2 emails that we work with them on, so they have access to send out, because some of our information goes out to them as well. So we're like with Blackboard.
So on our end, could we, before those are sent or that data is captured, could there be a filter for those that said yes or that said no?
It's possible. It probably have to be an update each year. And it depends on who filled out air, because we have issues where there's two different guardians and they fill it out differently, and one wants and one doesn't. So there's a lot of nuance to that question, but I'm happy to dig in with them and say, hey, if we wanted to, could we do this?
Do we have very many people objecting to Peach Jar?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know, because that's not like a dashboard that we have. I can ask.
I've definitely had parents.
If we have a low percentage and they have the ability to say unsubscribe, it seems to me that that is fair, and that we shouldn't look at doing things that are sort of working. And we do want our parents to have communication. I don't know about schools, but it's not unusual for me to get a message saying, I didn't know it was soccer sign up. Doesn't the school usually let us know? I didn't know that summer camp sign up is over, things like that. And so a bit of me would rather err on sending it to them and letting them say, I don't want to subscribe. And then when I get the phone call, I can say, gee, you got something at the beginning of the year. Have you said you don't want it any longer? Oh, I probably did. Well, then that's probably why you didn't get it. But if you go to our website, you might be able to see some information. Making people opt in is a whole different deal. And I'd rather err on giving too much information than parents and community members not getting enough information. Just because I think people are more upset when things happen and they didn't know about it than when things happen and another thing to just push I don't want and delete. That's just my thought.
I was going to ask maybe to see the percentage of people that do unsubscribe. And then you also mentioned potentially that they can unsubscribe to a specific organization, or is it just Peach Jar as a whole when they unsubscribe? Do they unsubscribe to the whole thing?
Be interesting to see. I'm not sure if they can unsubscribe just to their school, because there's really two that you would get as a parent. One would be from the Pack Drive community, and then the other would be from the Fullerton community. Because if we send something as a district, it'll say from the Fullerton community. That's when we send to all parents. Then you have the one that's just your school. I'm not sure if you can opt out separately, but I'm making a wonderful list of questions for our sales rep right now.
No, and I think it'll be interesting to see just the percentage of people that do unsubscribe, as Trustee Sugarman was mentioning. Like, I think it's a lot easier for folks to unsubscribe. I mean, you know, spam mail, I think everyone gets it. You know, I'm constantly always unsubscribing to things that, you know, they're fishing for. And I would hate to have someone miss information that is, valuable. Maybe not at that moment, but in the near future, something, and they know how to connect to that organization or connect to whatever might be happening at that time. So I would just like to see if there's a percentage of people that do unsubscribe and just kind of see what that looks like.
Do we send out information like the dates of spring recess through Blackboard or through Peach Jar or through both?
It depends. As a district, we utilize Blackboard for anything we feel is sort of a high importance. And just so you know, parents can opt out of Blackboard as well. That's an FCC thing. So the Federal Communications Commission has said you cannot robocall people that don't want to be robocalled. The only time we can override that is in an emergency. So like, if we have an emergency at a school, there's a lockdown, we can push an emergency button, and even those who have opted out of Blackboard still get that message either way. We've seen a lot less unsubscribes since we stopped doing the phone call, because we used to do the phone, the text, and the email. So people seem to appreciate not getting that many phone calls each day. So when we implemented that, we saw a drop in those who are unsubscribing, which was good. And our principals do go through the unsubscribe list on Blackboard on a yearly basis and look at it, and they try and connect with those parents and say, hey, do you know you unsubscribed? Do you really still want to be unsubscribed from Blackboard? So you could unsubscribe from both. But typically, your super important information we put through Blackboard, because that we feel that is our district paid for communication system. Peach Jar is then used for a lot of your fun events, your soccer, your things like that, district carnival. So sites are more inclined on using Peach Jar than the district. District typically uses Blackboard.
I appreciate that you have that emergency ability. That's really important.
That's good to know.
So thank you for letting us know about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, super insightful. I think one of the other things, because I also remember with the organization that I was with in the past, helping make the packets, because I felt really bad for having staff, having to print so many copies or bring in so many copies of flyers that we were doing out in the community. And then, I was like, well, if this is going to benefit us as a community, like I'll partake in stuffing envelopes and flyers to all the 300, 400 students, which kind of took some time.
And the cost.
Yeah, so just looking back on it now, like from this perspective and seeing this, and then also kind of getting the insight again from you, Natasha, as well, too, was really great. Any other questions, comments?
Natasha, like everyone else, thank you. Would it be okay if I made a motion to let things be as they are?
Can I just have two?
What's
that?
It
Yeah, we
says
don't have to-
action.
Yeah,
It
there's
says
no-
there
it
was
says
no motion.
action.
I
Okay,
just,
says
I
No,
want
just
to
discussion.
add to one thought is I think I have heard parents' concerns about this issue. I think that probably we don't hear the positives. The people that get to soccer club or karate or go to the pumpkin run, they don't say, hey, thanks for that Peach Jar flyer. It was really helpful, right? But I think that most people probably appreciate the service and the information it provides to our community and the partnerships it builds with the nonprofits and even the businesses, local businesses that, are benefiting and our kids are benefiting from that mutual partnership. I think the two things I hear from parents are just the volume of emails, more spam, more things to delete in their inbox when it isn't relevant to them that day, but also sometimes concerns about the organizations, right? If it's from a church, and what about separation of church and state? They might have questions. And so I think part of it, I think our district has done a good job in the last few years of creating that separation, of putting the notices and saying it's from the Fullerton community or the Raymond community, not Fullerton school. Because I would look for old emails and it was like, is it from the school or the principal? They're separate now. And I think those disclaimers, but I think it is on us as a district to also make the communication clear that we are not endorsing and we are not supporting. This is the public service announcement. It's a community service that most people benefit. For the benefit of it, we think it's a valuable thing, but it doesn't mean we've backed every organization. It doesn't mean we agree or align on all their values. And our community is diverse, and people have different opinions about what is aligned and what's not even. And so we have to see it for that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here to help us guide and answer questions for us. With that, we're going to move.
President Talavera, can we take a 4-minute
we're doing
break?
transportation.
Yeah, let's take a quick. So let's come back at 7:30. Meeting back to order, and we have our second item.
Don't we have
That's up.
transportation?
And I believe that's, yes, and that's Dr. Kogelin.
Well, good evening. I thought it's worth noting that March 15th is Red Nose Day. And so I don't know if that's what this is for, Jeremy. Is that what this is for? Red Nose Day?
Red Nose Day.
I was impressed. It really does. But I won't put it on my nose. That's March 17th. Okay. It is. Board President, trustees, Dr. Pletka, cabinet and guests, I'm here tonight to present the second interim report. And so you all have a copy of that, and it's up on the screen, so we will proceed. And I have. Look at that. So, for those of you who don't know, what is the second interim report? It's where we review the financial status of the district from July 1st to January 31st. The last time I was here was in December, and that was the first interim report that went up through October 31st. In addition to this time period up until January 31st, we will look at the out years, the 2 out years, to see where revenue and expenditures fall. So let's see what's changed from first interim to second interim. At not a lot. When we look at revenue, really the big change was in local revenue, and that has to do with we made an adjustment to our interest, the amount of money that we received for that. It was about $800,000 offset with those other slight reductions, increased our revenue from first interim to second interim $710,000.
We like that.
We like that. The next slide looks at the expenditures, and you'll notice that for our certificated salaries, they went down about $330,000. That doesn't mean that we eliminated them during the year. It means we had some positions that are unfilled, and so we know that we had a savings there also with classified salaries and then corresponding employee benefits to go with that. We had a slight increase in books and supplies and some minor ones in other areas, but overall expenditures are down $570,000. So when you combine those two, where at first interim we were showing a, let's see where we at here. Total, the difference, it's changed $1.28 million from first interim to second interim with the additional revenue and the reduction in expenditures. That's been the change. The assumptions that we use, now these assumptions have changed slightly from first interim. And in terms of the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, when we look at 23-24, those numbers have stayed the same, 8.22%, but for the out years, 24-25, it's been adjusted down from 3.94% to 0.76%. This is it's a formula, it's a calculation based on 8 quarters. We don't get to pick the percentage, but it has been reduced. That then has an effect on the amount of revenue that comes in those out years or is projected to come in, and I'll be showing that here slightly. And in 25-26, the COLA was 3.29. It's now down to 2.73%. Overall, you can see that our unduplicated average is still hanging out around 60%. This then produces what, in addition to our base funding, supplemental funding and concentration funding in the amount of about $19 million. That money's for services for students that are considered unduplicated, so your students on a low socioeconomic status, foster youth, or English learners. Our funded LCFF dollars per ADA is $12,447, and next year it goes up slightly because the COLA only goes up 0.76%, and in the out year, it's projected then to go up 2.73%. This funded LCFF dollars, though, it's a calculation based on a rolling 3-year average of enrollment and ADA.
I don't see, isn't it?
Some other assumptions that we build into the budget is for step and column. For all groups, we know that even if there are no negotiated increases to salary and benefits, that we do have built-in step and column increases of the amounts that are listed there, about $1.1 million. Good news is STRS is still, the percentage is still high, but we're not hearing anything about that they're going to increase the contribution on the district part. The PERS is projected to still go up slightly in the out years, which means an additional impact, and I have the dollar amounts there. Enrollment, we're projected to go down about 200 students next year, and that stays flat for 25-26. Our average daily attendance, our ADA, you'll see there that it's down. That's not what we're funded on. What we're funded on is that 11,592, and it's starting to level out to where we're going to be around 96, close to 97% of enrollment when we get down to 25-26. When you put all these assumptions in, and we do what's called a multi-year projections, this is what you see, that for the current year, it shows that our ending balance has a net increase of 2.61%, and then in the out years, a deficit of 1.61 million and 1.29. What changed this was when the COLA went down, the impact, get you the impact here. For example, the revenue at first interim for next year was $149 million. It's now down to 145. And prior at first interim, 25-26, it was 153 million, so that is down. However, we've made corresponding adjustments in expenditures and have reduced those in the out years. Important to note that these numbers that you see here do not include any negotiated settlements with associations. We're still in the middle of negotiations, so we wouldn't put them in.
And the committed is for ongoing.
So the committed funds, this is something that the board took action on a couple years ago, and it was to take a part of the funds for facility repairs, facility improvements, also to kind of mitigate the loss of ADA. Remember, in enrollment, remember a couple years ago, our enrollment dropped. We lost about 1,400 students in a 2-year period due to COVID. So the result of a lower enrollment means less money for the district, and it's a kind of a safety net in the event that funds need to be covered from the change in enrollment. And so not a lot of changes with our, we're still proceeding with caution. We know we have declining enrollment. It's not that people or students are leaving all of the grades, it's just that the number of students entering TK and kinder are not as, it's not the same class size as the 8th graders that are leaving. It's a smaller cohort. Rising health costs continue to be an issue for the district, and high STRS and PERS rates. Plus, it's worth noting that the COVID-19 relief funds, those have all been exhausted. They did what they were supposed to do. They were utilized during that COVID period. There's still some uncertainties out there. TK kinder enrollment, for the out years, we are staffing rather conservatively. If the students do show up and the demographers feel that they are, then we will add those, spots back in. But we're planning for less TK kinder enrollment this year than we did last year. Still uncertainty with attendance rate. Students are still getting sick and staying home. And so our attendance rate's not as high as it normally is of 98%. The state is in the middle of, has its own deficit, revenue deficit that they're dealing with that eventually will more than likely impact us. The stock market is still rather uncertain. While it's doing fine now, and other things like Bitcoin, and they're doing fine, it's not a guarantee. State economy, as the state deals with its deficit and looks at income that it gets from raising its taxes, that's an issue. So we're rather uncertain about the COLAs. What's the future cost of living adjustments? We've lowered it at second interim, could be higher, could be lower. I've gone back and looked at all past presentations, and it's not uncommon for that COLA to be jumping all around. It's not uncommon to see deficits in the out year. It's really quite common. And for those who maybe are just looking at this at the first time, you could look at it and say, wow, this doesn't look good. You know, it's kind of normal, and I hate to say that, but the way that school districts in California are funded, it's normal. And we've seen it before, and we adapt. And that's where we are. And I would say the last thing, which is kind of an uncertainty, is it's an election year. And so a lot of things can happen. Promises can be made, promises can be broken. Things can happen. So we don't know there. Until then, we stay the course. We are recommending our ending fund balance is projected to be above the 3% reserve. Staff recommends a positive certification, which means we're able to meet our obligation for the current year plus the following 2 years. And so our next steps is we would submit this report to the county. We have to do this by March 15th, which we've met that deadline. We'll keep an eye out on the May revise for the governor to come out with his any changes to his proposed budget. We're going to continue to monitor enrollment and spending, current and ongoing. We will continue to work on the LCAP and prepare that. We'll be back here in May and June, where we will adopt the budget for 24-25 and in the following 2 years. So we're moving right along. And with that, I will ask, are there any questions? Before I do that, I do want to thank Damian Ibarra and his staff for putting this together. He's getting quite good at this. Finished this. This was actually done about a week and a half ago. It was amazing. Pretty close to it. So he's doing a great job with this. So with that, are there any questions?
Well, we talked about this a little bit in closed session. I guess it's just the sense of foreboding that some of reality is crashing down upon us now. Obviously, you're asking about a positive certification.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't seem to be any data to suggest otherwise, but, you know, like vibes. It's a little bit of unease, I guess, economically. 6 years on the board, this feels the most concerning. Obviously, there was COVID, we were shut down, but then funding sort of came through. So every time we've sort of been at where we can't see around the corner, financial instability is looming, or at least concerns, we've sort of gotten lucky, the stock market takes off or something. So can you imagine a scenario next year where we're not so positive?
Well, I'll say this, that I went back and I looked for the last 10 plus years. Not uncommon in the out years to see deficits. And by the way, those deficits, some of them were greater than they are now on a much smaller budget. And so remember, we have a 100% spend down budget. So we don't always spend 100% of our budget, but we have to plan for that. So based on that, things will get better. Now, as far as the economy and what's going to happen with COLAs, are they going to be lower? That I cannot predict. However, what I do know, and I've been through this before, and Dr. Bob's been through this before, and one of the things that we do is we try to see what's going to happen down the future, and we make some slight adjustments So if it does go that way, and that's kind of what we do, and we do look at expenditures, we look at, positions that may become open. Are we going to fill them? There's things that we can do. And so I just say this, that I can see that if you're looking at this for the first time, or if you've only been doing this for a few years, it's concerning. It's kind of become the norm. And we deal with it. Dr. Plecka, would you like to say?
Yeah, so what Rob was mentioning about, we plan as if we're going to spend every dollar that we receive. What happens is, just from a practical level, we have about 2,000 employees in Fullerton School District. At any given moment, we have we have a percentage of folks that are unhired at any given moment. So 2,000 employees, a percent not hired. So in addition, we have budgets that we don't also spend down in every case. So this is a general rule, a pattern that I've seen over the years. In the out years, generally speaking, it's about $1.5 million better for a variety of reasons. Some of them is because we can't literally hire everybody at every moment. So if you were looking at, like, what does that mean? If you want to look at next year's budget, just because we can't hire everybody at every moment, and we're not going to spend every dollar of every budget, it'll be about $1.5 million better. And the following year, about $1.5 million better. Is that true almost every year? Just about every year. I think Rob and I had some fun. We went back, Rob went back, I think, 12 years? Mm-hmm. 12 years. And I think out of the 12, there was 1 year, in fact, it was agency aids, our special challenge, where that wasn't true. But almost in every case, about $1.5 million. Some years it was more than that. Some years it was closer to $2.5 million. So that's kind of the range. And so when I look at the budget, I look at with that kind of piece of knowledge.
And I'll say that some of my colleagues in other districts who they will look at this and they will say, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. We need to stop spending. We need to do nothing. And they'll do that. And services will be stopped right now. And you watch, they will amass a lot of money. And at what cost? It does give you some security to say, oh my gosh, we now have an extra $6 million that we didn't think we were going to have. It just went up. But at what cost? Children in the first grade, they get one shot at the first grade. And so my goal is to make sure we get it as close to even as possible, knowing that there's going to be some times when it does deficit spend. There's going to be some times when there's a surplus, but it's to try to get it to spend those dollars there. And there are many districts that don't do that. And those are the districts that are still sitting on their COVID money. Those are the districts that have to spend that now. And again, I pointed this out. This district made the wise choice. We utilized those dollars during the pandemic when it was needed, when it was necessary. And if you look at test scores compared to other districts, the kids benefited from that. So I know when you look at these numbers, it may be a little unsettling, but I will tell you, we got this. We've got this.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate the work of our board and our staff that have done that work over the years. I think it was Beverly that you shared once about, spend the money we have today on today's kids. Mm-hmm. That's like the one shot that we have. I appreciate that the people who were here before me spent that COVID money in the time that it was needed. And I know that a lot of it has now been transitioned. Those positions, those programs were transitioned over to different streams of funding from grant funding. What was COVID money is now grant money. And I know our district has worked really hard to get those learner recovery grants and after school programs and things transitioned over to that. So I want to say thank you and applaud that foresight, that insight to use that opportunity to create new ways to support our kids. And just, again, that means we have to keep looking for the next thing, right? What's the next grant? What's the next funding stream if we can't rely on ADA to fund those programs, how do we continue to look for creative sources?
And we know that our staff is really good at that. And so my questions today, everything I asked was, we have a grant for that, we have a grant for that. And so I think that's what we have to realize, is that our district goes out of their way. You guys are a great team together in finding ways that we can continue the programs that are best for our children, so that we can continue with the progress. So thank you.
We control the things that we can, and those that we can't, we focus our energy on what we can do.
Damien,
Anyone else?
thank you for taking over this position in terms of making clear reports for us, because I know Rob appreciates the help, really appreciates the help. And of course, we can't just discount. We have to have some concern, you know. Unexpected repairs, unexpected something. But still, I'm thrilled with the unanimous vision of leadership in this district, from the board to the cabinet, and I believe to our school sites, for doing what we said, where we take the money and we spend it on this year's children. It's this year's dollars. And following that vision from COVID, from before COVID, and continuing it, that's really important. I believe grants aren't going to just disappear in this world, but some other school districts may get the idea, and so we maybe shouldn't just keep talking about it. Shh, because that is what's carrying us forward and is going to replenish the needs of our students. COVID is over, but student needs, whether it is student and staff, social emotional, or whether it's student learning loss, those needs are going to go on for several years to come. And we really need those dollars to support all of our students. And thank you all for doing that. Thank you for going for the grants. Thank you for looking at vision. Thank you for coming up with all this plethora of programs and summer programs to support our children, and to put in our TKs, which are doing a great job, and just so many wonderful programs that support visions of parents.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Do we need a motion on this one?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I want
we
to
have a motion.
move to accept the second interim report and vote that we are fiscally solvent.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Awesome. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? No. 5-0. Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll be moving on to, locked me out, to our, is this also you? No?
This is me, but I'm going to have
Yes.
a guest host come up with me.
Here we go. Transportation. There it is.
This is a new individual to transportation. He's an
JD.
up-and-comer. Yes, JD. JD and I are here tonight to present it's the annual transportation program funding plan. This went into effect last year, where the state finally started to increase, and we'll talk about that, the amount of money that goes into education. Still not enough for what our expenses are, but we are grateful for the added funding. However, one of the requirements is that we kind of review this with the board. What is our plan? What are our policies when it comes to transportation? Who rides the bus? What are the costs? And any recommendations for those students who do pay. There's some surveys that were sent out to get input from students, and that's a requirement to kind of what we're hearing, and we'll present on those results. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to JD right now, and he will take it from here. You go on the down.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good evening, President Talavera, trustees, Dr. Pleca, Cabinet. I'm JD Munch. I'm the Director of Transportation Services for our wonderful district. I am very happy to be here tonight because last year I wasn't able to be here. And I'm very grateful to be here tonight. So, moving right along, our agenda will be the current transportation program, bus rider eligibility, transportation statistics, transportation funding and expenditures, the 2023-2024 funding for transportation, input and recommendations, and board approval. So bus rider eligibility there's two different scenarios. There's low socioeconomic status, the student ride for free, and the non-low socioeconomic status, and the student pays $383 per year. That for home to school, the non-transportation zone or the walking distance for elementary is 1.25 miles, and for junior high schools is 2 miles. Now, for a special ed student, the mileage requirement, although we do have the walking distance, however, if it is a requirement in the student's IEP, that's a related, transportation is a related service, they do get that for free. And here are some transportation statistics. So the number of home to school bus routes is 6. We serve 5 of our schools, Beechwood, Rolling Hills, Parks, Ladera Vista, and Hermosa. Our home to school bus riders on the daily is 266, which is 44.33 to 1. Our non-low SES students are 90, and low SES is 176. The number of special education bus routes is 21. SPED bus riders we have 184, which is 8.76 to 1. And we do have non-low SES of 72 and low SES of 112. However, all of them do ride for free because it's part of their IEP. A little bit about our bus fleet. We have 41 buses. We have 13 gasoline buses, 23 propane, which they're clean burning fuel. CNG, which is compressed natural gas, we have 2 of those buses, which is also a clean burning fuel. And 3 diesel buses that only get pulled out when we have large groups we're transporting, Kinder Caminata, those types of field trips. They're not used on the daily. They probably get used twice a year. Our bus fleet is a little on the older side. We have buses that are 15 years old or less, 58.54%, and buses that are 16 years old or more is 41.46%. So to purchase used buses, gas, propane, or CNG, it all depends on the price and availability. They're getting a little bit more available now, but in the past they've been really hard to come by. The purchase of new electric buses with a grant, you can get them from 0 to 250,000, and purchase of new electric buses without grants is 300 to 400,000. Something else to keep in mind is the infrastructure that comes with that. You can buy the electric bus, but if you have no way to charge it, it's, we're running extension cords.
Do we currently have the infrastructure for electric buses?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
Do we currently have the infrastructure for electric buses?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Can I ask you what 44.33 to 1 means? I'm not sure what that ratio or percentage.
The students per bus.
Okay, that's how many students can be on a bus, or
No,
the
that's
way
the
they're distributed with the number of buses we have?
Yeah, that's who's riding right now. Some
So-
are larger, some transport more students a day, some transport less, but on average, that's what we're doing.
So something like putting in appropriate charging stations would be really through a bond?
Bond, or there are grants that are available, which right now in the state's a little difficult because there's so many districts trying to vie for grants. I was just at a conference about 2 weeks ago, and there are some districts that have been waiting 3-4 years to get infrastructure.
Now, what about hybrid buses? Does that exist?
No, not yet.
But that might be helpful.
That'd be great, yeah.
We have
Actually, I was
some-
just talking to our fleet vehicle coordinator today about that, but no one's come up with them yet.
But we have the solar
Thank you.
panels at most of our school sites. We just don't have the ability to capture it and put it into a bus.
Requires
Rob will
requires something
Sorry.
really special, right? Doesn't it?
Right. Here at the district office, we have a couple sites with the solar. And really what those solar panels do is they produce, we're kind of renting out our land to produce electricity. And the amount of electricity that's produced is, let's say it's I think it's close to 80% of the energy that we use in our district. 80% that we used at the time we put them in. So now if we're going to be adding more things that will use or need electricity, kind of go into the grid, that's where it's going to, I mean, we produce a finite amount of electricity from solar. But we're talking about the infrastructure, the charging stations that are hooked up, that plug them in, that's the infrastructure that we're talking about.
Aren't there other infrastructures in Fullerton that are prepped for that? Doesn't the city or does the high school district have electric buses, or the city?
The city does.
Yeah, I thought I
I'm
read
sure
that
like
somewhere, yeah.
OCTA does.
Yeah.
The high school district mostly runs CNG.
Right. But the city has something in their
Yeah,
in their
OCTA
yard.
and Transit Authority.
JD, didn't you get one small transport unit that was electric?
We are in the process of doing that. It's going to be a van, wheelchair accessible van that will be electric. So we are moving forward a little, what we can with that.
Thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about the funding. Funding in the early 80s, I believe it was 1982, was frozen for all districts in California, which meant whatever the amount of money that you received in that year, that's what you would receive every year after that. And so if you look at, I'm going to go ahead to one chart here. Oh, it's so small. You'll see that I only went back to 2007-8. The transportation revenue that came in was $1,023,629. That's all we received every year, even though the expenditures went from $2 million to, in some cases they actually went down, because as enrollment goes down, ridership can go down. You'll notice that in 2017-18, that's when price started going up. Gasoline, fuel costs started going up, $2.7 million in 2018. And then the reason why I have those green 2019, 20, and 2021 is that was during COVID. And we weren't doing field trips as much. We weren't even bringing students to school as much for some of the last few months of 1920 and first couple of months of 2021. But costs are back up. And in 23-24, we're projected expenditures at $3.2 million. The additional money that we received last year is that column, that $771,000. So when you add that to the amount that we get every year, the $1,023,629, it got us to 1.7. This is based on enrollment. The new number, the home to school revenue, that's why you'll see it's less, because we have less students. And what they do on the LCFF revenue is they do apply the COLA to that amount of money, so that will be going up. The whole purpose is to get us at a funding level of 60% of our expenditures, which means we have a program that we're not receiving enough money for, but we still provide the services. We're required to provide the services for special education. What happened last year is a move in the right direction. You can see that the percent funded, we were down to 38% in 2018-19, and it would be an awful lot lower if we continued. So I'm going to talk about the surveys.
Sure.
All right.
All right. We did have some surveys that were made available to our community, our staff, our parents, our students from the 6th of February to the 26th. We had 340 student responses, 836 parent responses, and 241 staff responses. So the survey results themes from the riders. 9% of the survey responses were from individuals that currently ride, utilize our services. And the major consensus from the responses are transportation should be free for everyone. That seems like a common theme. Students feel safe on the bus, as well as walking to and waiting at the bus stop. That was a very important question. We got a lot of feedback on that. If buses had internet access, students would use it to do homework, text message, and listen to music. Yeah, they said homework first, so. I love this part. The bus riding students who took the survey gave an overall satisfaction of 4 out of 5 stars. So if it was Uber, they'd be doing pretty good.
That's great.
Very, very positive. So the survey results themes from non-riders. 91% of the survey responses were from individuals that don't currently utilize our services. And they also said they would love free transportation for all students. They would like a lower mileage distance, so a decreased walking zone, making that smaller so we can increase the ridership. Also, they would like to decrease traffic at the school sites by offering more busing.
I do like that students who are not within our riding distance, who are in the walking distance area, if your buses have space, they can take the bus and they can pay for it. Do many people take that option?
Not many. I think we have less than 15 or so that do that, but we do have people that have that option and they do take advantage of it.
That's a nice option. Do we advertise that option?
We don't necessarily advertise it, but we do receive calls from school sites that are requesting. We also get calls from school sites that we don't offer transportation to. Now remember, this is home to school, because we also service pretty much all the other school sites with special needs transportation. But the school sites that we do service in other schools, we do get requests, but if they're not within that area, we don't have transportation going to that school.
Thank you.
If a sibling, I just thought of this, if a sibling one child has an IEP that requires busing, and big sister wants to get on the bus too, do we allow that kind of an option for allowing more students to ride on those buses if there's space?
Yes, absolutely. We do offer that. However, they do have to.
They would pay.
They have to pay for the transportation. Okay. The only thing about that is if there has to be space on the bus for that student, and once we're receiving the request, we do tell them that and explain that to them, so it's not a surprise. And we do our very best to accommodate every family.
But that's some of the exception. They might be within walking distance, but have the opportunity to ride a bus that way.
That's correct. Okay. And if they're riding with their sibling, they'll be most likely being picked up close to their home, if not at the curb. Survey comment themes. The main comment themes were to make transportation available to more people at no cost, especially those that can't afford it. We do offer that, and that was part of the plan last year. We did have reduced bus passes, but those are now at no cost to the families that were reduced. But everyone wants free transportation. That would make everyone happy. Continue to make student safety a priority. And my crew does a great job. I have an excellent safety and training department, and our dispatchers are the state requires a minimum of 10 hours for our bus drivers to get every year. We give them 15, 20, 25 hours of ongoing training to make sure that safety is a priority. In fact, that's our number one goal in transportation, is the safe transportation of our students, and everything we do supports that goal. Another common theme was bus drivers and transportation staff are great. I love that.
So what we're presenting tonight, it's actually a 5-year plan. It doesn't have to be presented every year. It can. We don't have to do the surveys every year. We can. I have a feeling things should be the same. It was interesting to hear about the internet as we move forward, and if that's something we go in a direction. So that was kind of fun to ask those questions. But our recommendations for 24-25 going forward is to continue to provide transportation services at no cost to unduplicated students. that live outside walking distance. So this isn't just free and reduced. This is also English learners, and I know we do stuff with foster youth. And so before, if you're an English learner and you are, you're taking the bus and you're eligible, then you wouldn't have to pay. And so that's one of the ways we're using the additional money. We are recommending that we increase the cost for the eligible non-unduplicated students from $383 a year to $399 a year. And in the plan, we have a recommendation that in the out years that the board may increase it either 2.5% or the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, whichever is greater. We would not just do that automatically. We would come back to the board, and that would be a decision that the board would make. That would be the only part, wouldn't go through the whole plan again, but you would have that say. Until then, recommendation is to increase it to $399 and continue to hire qualified bus drivers and provide ongoing safety training. That would be the recommendations. So with that, we'll see if there's any questions that you have.
I do have a couple. When you are looking for qualified bus drivers, are you looking for bus drivers who are qualified with that mountain driving certificate? This year we've needed it twice in 12 months. It seems like an important certificate that we have available to us if we have emergencies.
We train our own
Oh, you
here
train
in-house.
people to get that.
If they do
Okay.
have experience driving in the mountains, we still put them through our training. So we know what they know. We teach them in the chaining, the adverse weather conditions, and all those things. So we train our own on that, and we have a pretty good team that does that. And they're training in the putting on chains in the bus yard and get that down, and then they actually created a couple tools. Our shop actually invented some tools to help put those chains on a little better, which is
Cool.
really great. So, and then we take them up to the mountains, and they actually do it in the snow. And
That's
they
great.
do it in those situations with no students on board. And then, then once they're
Just administration.
once they get qualified, then they'll move to they'll be driving the luggage vehicle. Still no students on board, and as soon as they get enough experience doing that, then we'll put students with them.
Thank you for explaining that. I see that we have a deficit in your department of 1.265,188 that comes from the general fund. And part of my feeling is if students can't get to school, they can't learn. And so we need to get them there. And that's important. I'm just sad that we need to take money from our general fund on groups who the state require us to bus, like IEP. Of course, we should be bringing them to school. But I mean, if it's the law, it feels to me that it should be funded by those who pass the law. And 1.2 million from our budget, actually it's closer to 1.3, is a lot of money. And so when people say it should all be free, that would be very difficult for us to do. And I hope that they get educated a teeny bit, nicely, not rudely, that this transportation costs us a lot of money, and we need to be cognizant of being fiscally responsible at the best we can. And I think the board joins me in saying kids need to get to school. And so we want them in school.
But it is important to remember that we're not obligated by law to transport kids other than those who have it in their IEP as a requirement, right? It's only because we want them here that we're dipping into our general budget to make that happen. Yeah.
That's,
I will say that I do want to add this.
go ahead, tell us.
If you look at the number of students that are paying, it's probably, let's just round it, say 100,
it.
and they're paying 300. I mean, if you multiply that out, it's $34,000. That's it. That's the money that's coming
So
in.
you're suggesting we could do it for free?
Well, what I'm suggesting is I think there's a lot of people that are riding for free already. I mean,
Right,
we're
that's
already,
what your print
we're
says.
funding that already, but I'm saying, I think we do need to have that criteria. Without that criteria, you will have more people that will come up, which then you'll have to add buses and you'll have to add drivers, which drivers are very difficult to find, which is an excellent segue to what I'm going to have JD share about what he's done to find drivers, to find bus drivers.
Thank you for pointing that out, though.
As
Don't wanna get rich.
as Dr. Coughlin said, that we do have a robust training program. So we kicked that off a few years ago, and we grow our own bus drivers. They come from other departments that are actually, we have a driver right now that has just was working for nutrition services and came through our training program and has now advanced into a trainer-trainee program, which is great because we do that. We promote from within. So our trainee program, we bring in people that have no experience whatsoever at all in driving a school bus, and our safety and training department put them through the required training. They have state requires 40 hours minimum for them to be trained. We actually pay our trainees for 50 hours to go through the program and support them after. And so that has been a great resource to get new drivers in. And we know what they know because we've trained them. And we have full confidence and trust in them because of the things that we train them on. And so that's a good way, because we do have people that are retiring and that are moving on to other districts, and we are replacing them with trainees that are coming up that I mean, if anyone wants to become a school bus driver, we can train you to do so.
With pay.
Yeah, with pay.
So, an aside, have we already had the bus rodeo this year?
No, the bus rodeo will be April 13th at Garden Grove Unified. That is our Orange County rodeo, and our Southern Sectional will be in May, and that'll be, I believe, at the Irwindale Speedway. And then whoever wins that can go to state, and whoever wins that can go to national. So it's pretty exciting.
Go Fullerton.
Yeah, we have a pretty solid team.
Thank
So,
you.
All right.
For those families that pay to ride the bus that live outside of the walking distance, can they pay quarterly, monthly? Could they join right now for the rest of the school year?
Yes, we break it down by day, so based on when they sign up and go through the application process, it'll be based on when they actually start, and they can pay one way, they can pay round trip. We
wow.
break it down so it's real
Customizable.
convenient.
That's great to know. And we can
Yeah,
promote
we-
it through Peach Jar to make sure everybody
We're
knows.
really nice. We're really nice.
We do
That's nice.
we allow a payment plan so they can. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Just want to say it's great to see you up there, JD. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Welcome
so
back.
much.
Just, I wanted to give a shout out to JD. There's bus shortage, bus driver shortages across the nation and in many big districts. And when we faced it, JD is very innovative, and so is Rob. The two of them make a great team. And together they came up with this idea that we're going to train our own drivers. And we hadn't done that before, and that was just something that the two of them came up with, and JD led that whole implementation on what that looks like. And as a result of that, JD was able to bring in more drivers, and this has become, obviously post-pandemic, not just among bus drivers, but in a variety of fields. And it takes people innovative like JD to think outside the box to make that happen. And I want to say this, he was our manager of the year last year, and it's for a reason. He's not just one of the best bus driver managers, but he's one of the best managers that I have known through the years. He advocates for his bus drivers. You should see him always thinking of ways to help them, to think outside the box. It was his leadership that said, hey, if we increase the number of hours that our bus drivers are working, we'll also have a better draw. And he also recently came up with an idea basically to create some 8-hour positions where bus drivers they drive the bus, and then they also do potentially with things like food services. JD is just a very innovative person, and we're very lucky. I'm very lucky to have JD at this district, and thanks for all you do, JD.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome, thank you.
That's recorded. You could have your wife read it, see it later tonight.
And communicate to your staff that we really, truly appreciate all that they do each and every day with our students, being the first person those kids see when they get on the bus in the morning, and the last person they usually see getting off. So we really, truly appreciate them.
I will definitely let them know.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
JD.
you.
So with that, do we have a motion to approve this item?
I so move.
Second.
Second, awesome. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Awesome, thank you so much. And yeah, just my youngest one's been the one that's kind of really put this into my head as well too, with the buses. He's the only one that asked, like, can he ride the bus? And we live inside the zone, so I told him no. Awesome. All right. Yeah. And to our, looks like it's our last item, item D. Dr. Hammett, take it away.
Yes, good evening. This evening I have Paul Dinas here with me, who is our Director of Classified Personnel. And the next item we're bringing to you tonight is a resolution, Resolution 2324-11, which would initiate a layoff of classified personnel process in the Fullerton School District at the end of the 23-24 school year. So this layoff would occur on June 30th of this current school year and would be effective for the start of the new 24-25 school year. The purpose of this layoff is related directly to funding. School districts can lay off personnel for one of two reasons, either lack of funds or lack of work, and this layoff is directly related to lack of funds. There was a new assembly bill passed in January 1st of 2022 that requires school districts to notify classified employees, for the board to take action, and then classified employees to be notified regarding a layoff prior to March 15th of each year. So there is one window of time when school districts can notify and lay off classified employees. So we're bringing this item to the board tonight for your consideration to allow us to move forward. We have already spoken with the employees that would be impacted by this layoff, and we will continue to work with them to apply their rights through a variety of movements and open positions so that they can be put into other positions in the district. Are there any questions?
Questions from our fellow trustees?
Thank you for explaining the purpose behind this, both in closed session and today. And Paul, this is not something I think that any of us feels good about, but it seems that the employees are being taken care of to the extent of the law, and as their wishes, are being taken into consideration. But this kind of goes back to that budget item that I was saying. Is this the warning sign? Is this what we need to be aware of? But I'm sure that I speak on behalf of all of our colleagues that this is not something that we want to do, but I'm glad that, because it is something that we have to do, that it's being done in the most thoughtful way and protective way for our employees, about whom we care very deeply. So thank you.
Anyone else?
For the public, would you explain the opportunities for these employees?
Yes, so what we are able to do for these employees is employees who are affected by this layoff are impacted by a provision called the Tucker process, by which Tucker case, essentially, where they would be able to work in other related positions for which they're qualified. And due to the vacancies that we have, we are able to provide positions for employees in other related positions in the district, and they will be able to maintain their work for the district and their hours and their pay. And then there are what are called 39-month rehire rights. And so these employees, if a position reopens in their current classification within the next 39 months after their layoff on June 30, they will be eligible to return to those positions without having to apply or without having to re-interview. They would be automatically returned to those positions within 39 months.
Thank you. That makes us feel a lot better. A lot better.
Dr. Hammond, if I can add anything. And just to answer your question, Hilda and the rest of the board, we're meeting individually with all these employees. We met with them last week, and we're setting up meetings tomorrow and Thursday. So we're continuing to explore what they have rights to because they may have previously held a position. So some employees have bumping rights back into classifications that they previously held. Some employees can bump back into classifications that have openings. Some employees, as a function of the current position they're in, are qualified for a position that's below it. And then some employees have skills that we didn't even know about until we talked to them. And so now we're exploring options for them with that. Additionally, we're looking at providing them additional rights to look at adding another 24 months of reemployment if we can find agreements with them, as well as options to potentially hold their base pay at the higher rate, depending on different agreements that we can come to with them. So absolutely exploring every possible option to keep them as whole as possible, and then ultimately knowing that if whatever options are available are not something that can work for them and their family needs, then I will continue to work with them to help them seek employment at other districts or any employment opportunities until we have those positions open back up here, at which point we'll call them to offer them that position first.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Paul, for that. And maybe not the best way to end today's meeting, but yeah, definitely unfortunate. I think one of the other things and elements, right, is some of these positions were also created with some of the COVID funds.
That is correct, yes. And
Yeah.
these positions were, created through those COVID funds to address issues related to COVID, yes.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else? Comments? We do need a motion for this item.
So moved. I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So with that, I'll ask any my fellow trustees if there's any other further future items that they would like to request for future board items. None?
Are we at all ever talking to the high school district about the start of the school year?
Starting the school year.
We do every year, and no, they're not interested.
Okay, but I commend you for your persistence. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So with that, we're going to adjourn our meeting today at 8:29. And our next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, April 16th. April 16th.